Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining me for this impromptu session. I only just decided this morning at breakfast time. I suddenly thought, oh God, it's a full moon and it's Imbolc and Candlemas Eve, and I'm doing a labyrinth in the cathedral. So why not do a geometry session with the actual labyrinth that is going to be made in the cathedral? So thank you for coming and for joining me at this time. And I'm going to begin, as ever, with a few slides. Now, this labyrinth, I only decided I was going to do it just, I don't know, about a week ago. The chairs are taken out of the nave of the cathedral here in Wales during January, and there was one day left, or rather, they haven't put the chairs back yet. They're sort of going to be putting the chairs back, I think, tomorrow. So I thought this is a good opportunity to do a labyrinth. And also there was a big service for a sort of an Epiphany Carol service for the Eve of Candlemas, I suppose, for before we move out of the Christmas season. So that was what led me to do this labyrinth. So let's take a look at what happened today. It was sort of a really good day. As in previous cases, I've done the labyrinth with a type of tea light. It's a battery-powered tea light because health and safety means that you can't have a real flame, unfortunately. But it gives a very good effect. So here was the labyrinth taken from the gallery just up by the west window. I was allowed to go up there to take a few images of the labyrinth. Now, as you can see, if you count, if you're into counting, a geometer like me always counts everything. It's what would be called a four-circuit labyrinth, in the sense that it has four pathways. Now, because there are objects that I suppose you could say are kickable, if someone was to accidentally go too far towards one of those lines in the labyrinth, and it needed two-way traffic as well. So that's why it's only four circuits, and then fitting, within the pillars of the nave. The one at Chartres has got a lot more. It's like an 11-circuit labyrinth, but that's stone inlay, and so the pathways are much thinner because obviously they're not objects that can be moved. So this was the labyrinth that was just right for what we were doing today. Now, I have to say thank you to the people who helped. On the right there, that's my son Theo and my wife Helen, and Buffy and Mike, a local couple, helped as well. And Finn, who's the one in the red cassock, he's currently what's called a ministry experience student at the cathedral. So as you can see, this is before the tea lights have been switched on. Um, we used a measuring tape, and the measuring tape is essentially held in the middle, while it's then moved around, I suppose, like an arm of a clock or like a radius of a circle. And then we did 1 foot distances. But then after we'd finished the labyrinth, we added in um, uh, tea lights in the middle of those 1 foot distances as well, so that we could have a really sort of dense line that really stood out. And it's very nice to walk. It wasn't too long actually. It's a good sort of a good distance for a short walk. So in a few minutes, this is what we'll start drawing. Um, it's relatively straightforward. We'll use units to get the size of the circle. The actual size of the labyrinth was well, the diameter was 33 feet, and then each pathway was 3 foot wide, and the circle at the center was 9 foot wide. Now, I couldn't resist but show you this film. I made this just before we were about to pack it up. A friend of mine called Guy Hayward turned up for he'd just been in Glastonbury all day for Imbolc, and he was with a friend called Tara Swartz. She's someone who writes about neuroscience and spirituality. Guy Hayward runs the British Pilgrimage Trust, and I got him to sing while walking the labyrinth. So hopefully this will come through. I hope it will. I've never actually played a film like this on Zoom before, so hopefully it'll work. I've just been told by my wife, who's listening upstairs, that the sound isn't coming through. So I'll put it onto YouTube and you can watch it there. It was an excellent moment. Right, now, City of Labyrinths, this is something that I'm going to be running here in the City of Wales for the last 2 days of May. So it'll be over the weekend. There'll be a course as well that runs from Friday to Saturday to Sunday. Now, this is going to involve the setting up of hopefully about 7 labyrinths within various medieval architectural settings around the city. So you can either just come to Wales for the weekend and walk the labyrinths, or you can actually take part in the course where you then would be drawing the labyrinths and constructing them for other people to walk on. Now, up to now, I've got a couple of labyrinths organised in the Cathedral. There'll also be a couple of labyrinths in the Bishop's Palace, one in the chapel of the Bishop's Palace, and one in a really beautiful medieval room called the Undercroft. Now, there's a few other places I'm talking to at the moment, so that's the plan. There's a few months before it's going to happen. So, as I say, hopefully 7 labyrinths, and that will be just on the Saturday and the Sunday when the labyrinths will actually be constructed. But if you want to actually take part in the course where you draw the labyrinths and set the labyrinths up on the Saturday and the Sunday, then that's running from the Friday 29th to the 31st. And I will give more information very soon. Once I've finalized the places where the labyrinths are going to be, then I'll give more information about it. Now, another thing that I want to mention is this course. This is an online course I'm going to begin teaching in just under 2 weeks from now. John Michel, very interesting writer and artist. His book, as you can see in the top left there, that's the book that we're going to be using to draw various patterns that have the golden ratio within them. So that's 5 and 10-fold patterns. And we'll look at the golden ratio more generally as well. Okay, let's get started on this labyrinth. I shall share my screen. Right, sorry, I should just say hello as well. Right, and I shall spotlight my... Okay, hello everyone. It's been such a long day, and I've just had dinner and a few drinks as well, but it's going to be fine. I'm going to be drawing. It's a very simple labyrinth. It won't take very long. Right, I hope you've had a good day. Of course, this is a very important day within the annual cycle because Imbolc, St. Bridget's feast, the eve of Candlemas, it's essentially the midpoint between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So it's one of those 8 points in the year. The very beginnings of spring are here with us. So remember that if you're finding winter a bit dark and difficult, that spring is on the way. Okay, I shall put on my drawing camera. Right, so I've got a piece of A3 paper here, as you can see in landscape orientation. Right, compasses, ruler. I'm going to be using inch units as I always do. So hopefully you've got inch measurements. Right, now I'm going to give a few reasonably obscure measurements which relate to the footage that was present within the labyrinth. So the labyrinth, like I say, it was 33 feet in diameter. Now, obviously, when we draw a circle, we work with the radius rather than the diameter. So in short, without going into too much detail, what I need you to do, or what I need you to do really with the ruler is to look upon these inches as consisting of 8 units, because obviously, within an inch you have 16 units, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is what we're going to be, I suppose, looking at with the units from the ruler. Now we need to begin by putting a measurement on which is 4 inches and 1/8 of an inch. Now, without going into too much detail, if you sort of think of each inch as having 8 units in it, you've got 8, 16, 24, 32, plus another 8 is 33. So that's sort of how we're doing it. But obviously, this is just a radius. So these are sort of half units in a way that we're using here. So 4 inches and 1/8 of an inch. Right, I think we might as well put in a vertical line first. Now, what I'm going to really stress here is begin by pressing with your lines very faintly. So these are all going to be construction lines, and then we're going to go over most of them, not quite all of them, but most of them we'll go over with a heavier line. So do faint lines for now. I'll do my lines probably a bit stronger so that you can see them, and then I'll go over them with a really thick soft lead pencil. But in terms of what you're doing yourself, have your lines so that they're quite faint. Right, so I'll say it again. We need 4 inches plus 1/8 of an inch. 4 and 1/8. Now find your way to the middle of that line. Right, the next circle we need to do, this will be a sequence of slightly obscure measures. It will be 3 and 3/8. So it's essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/8 down from where we just were. 3 and 3/8. So what's happening here is we're essentially leaving what would be a 3 unit distance between this one and this one, because there were 3 feet width with the circles as we were making them in the labyrinth today. Now, this is the thing with labyrinths. I mean, like, I do a lot of compasses geometry where you don't really use units, but when it comes to labyrinths, because there's a repeating measurement for the pathways, then quite often it's useful to use units. Now, the next measurement is 2 inches and 5/8. So from the 2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right now it's going to be 1 inch and 7/8. So just 1/8 below 2. And the final measure is 1 inch and 1/8. Now we just about managed to squeeze in 33 feet, just about fitted in to the pillars, which is nice because 33 is one of these numbers that shows itself in Christianity. It's the obviously the age that Christ was when he died, when he was crucified. It's a number that's associated with solar heroes. Alexander the Great also died at age 33. 33 is an interesting number for solar reasons because the sun rises from the same point on the horizon once every 33 years. So there is this 33-year cycle associated with the sun. Right, what we're going to do next is make two marks around here. Now, the two marks need to be 3/4 of an inch apart. So what this means is we need to have 1 to 3/8 of an inch on one side, and then 1 to 3/8 of an inch on the other side. I'm going to make a mark like that and one like that. So as you can see, 3/4 of an inch is what I've got here, and the halfway point between 3/4 of an inch, in the middle of 3/4 of an inch rather, is where I've got the ruler orientated. So you've got 1 to 3/8 of an inch and 1 2 3 here. Now, having done that up there, we can then do the equivalent thing down here. So we've got that 3/4 of an inch distance down here, straddled along the central line, and the same thing there. Right, now from here, it's really very simple. I'm going to use this mark and this mark. Let's see, I'll take the pencil out the compasses. And I'm going to draw a solid line from here down to here. Now, this is final line, so now is the time to start pressing with a stronger line. Now on this side, I'm only going to go over some. So I've got my ruler between those equivalent 2 points on this side, but I'm only going to draw over two of the pathways, like so. And this is the way in. Right, the next thing is to go from the top here and count 1, 2 down to here and place the point of the compasses there. And we've got the units already, so we can just go with what we have by eye. No more measuring on the ruler needed. Now this is just a construction line here, so don't do this circle um, particularly with any strength. Right, having done that full circle, I'm now going to do various semicircles. So for instance, one from here, point of the compasses like so. And one like so. Now you'll see what these do shortly. And there's another one here as well, a third one to go in here. These are really just construction lines that show us where to begin and end the various pathways as we're going to draw them. Now the one final straight line, and this again is final line, so do this one heavier, will be there. Now everything else from now is going to be curved line, so we're back to the compasses. It's a real nice simple one, this labyrinth. Right, I'm going to begin from the outer circles. So when you are ready, get this radial measurement onto your compasses. And this is going to be heavy line, so press harder when you do this next part. As you can see, I've got a different compasses now with this very sort of blunt um, 5B pencil. I think it's 5B, but yeah, it'll give a very strong line anyway. Now, this outer circumference is pretty much entire except for this bit here. So we don't draw here. So I'm going to begin from there, go all the way around, and then finish here. Now the next circle, the next one in, is going to begin from there. So obviously they've got the semicircle here, and it's going to end here where we've got the semicircle. So this one again, uh, pretty much complete, but just not between these 2 points here. Right, the next one is a bit more broken. First, I'm going to line up that radial measure. Now this one is going to begin from here, but we're only going to take this well, it's a semicircle almost up to there. So once we meet that circle construction line, like so, and then we'll begin beyond the circle. Right, now the next circle, now this next one is actually going to begin from here, go all the way around and end here. Now this, as you can see, presents us with the pathway in. And here is the final one. That mark that we made at the further back in the process, that will be our beginning point, and then we'll go all the way around and end here. Now, the question I always ask about labyrinths, obviously we're going to the center, we're going inwards to a central place, but are we moving upwards or are we moving downwards? Because there's both of these symbolisms with labyrinths. Labyrinths generally have a bit more of an emphasis towards going down into the underworld in some way. The labyrinths in the Gothic cathedrals do seem to be often associated with the Minotaur storyline, which seems to be looked upon in the time as being analogous to Christ's descent into Hades between death and resurrection. But you do also find labyrinths such as the Abingdon labyrinth, which is to do with the Virgin Mary's Assumption. So that labyrinth, you could say, is going upwards. Now, in the end, I think when we walk a labyrinth, we're all going to the central place, but what we're going there for is perhaps personal to ourselves as we walk it. Okay, everyone, thanks for coming. It's a quick session tonight. I only just decided at breakfast to do it, but it's definitely bedtime now. So I hope you've enjoyed this session. The moon happened, well, the full moon was at 9 minutes past. So while we were drawing, or perhaps while I was talking, we had the full moon. Always good to be drawing in synchronicity with the rest of the cosmos, the wider cosmos, with all of its circular movements. So I look forward to seeing all of you at some point in the future. I hope you've had a good evening and I hope you have a good week. Much love.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good night. That was great. Thank you, Tom.
Good, Tom.